as a brand, visibility initially is very, very important, regardless if it's your first year of launch or your 10th year of launch. I think the growth, the number one step in growth is visibility. How many eyeballs can you see? If I said this to my CMO, he would probably kill me because he doesn't care about impressions. But if your product isn't even seen, there's no chance of it being bought.
Today on the show, we have Raj Shah. He's the VP of Sales at Obvi.
What that kind of entails is having my hands in all things retail, any kind of new marketplaces that we're either evaluating or even onboarding. I am the guy from A to Z, from actually gaining interest from the buyers to also executing it on shelf. Keep your net very, very wide. Don't put yourself in a box.
Well, imagine how many more households you get access to in the same way that people, think about, I don't want to be on Amazon, blah, blah, blah. It's like, they've got millions of shoppers ready to purchase that are conversion ready. Why would you not want to be there? And I think that's what stood out to me is someone asked you the question, why wouldn't you be there? You guys were saying, why would we be there? And it was flipped on you like, well, why wouldn't you be there? That gets you thinking, why shouldn't we be there? Like just a little bit of reframing the question makes a huge difference.
Why can't Obvi be in grocery stores? And, if you asked us this question, 2021, 2022, we would probably laugh, right? Like grocery stores are collagen products. That's not going to work. Now, fast forward today, we're in 22,000 locations, and I would say a good 15,000 of those are grocery doors. I kind of tell brands to go balls to the walls, right? If you have a kill list, and attack everyone on your kill list, because the more feedback that you get from these buyers, it will not only help you where if they're saying, yes, we want to pick you up, you have a great product, we want to bring you in store, then awesome.
You can't constrain the consumer anymore. The consumer has as much information as they've ever had. They get to go and make the decisions and research and find stuff, and then they decide where they purchase. So it's another issue I've heard with brands is they're looking at trade spend in specific channels and not looking at it as a whole. Hey everyone, I'm Michael Marr, the host of The Longer Game, a podcast that talks all about the future of retail. Brick and mortar, direct to consumer, Amazon. If it's driving retail forward, we talk about it here on the show. Make sure to subscribe to catch every episode on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And before we dive in, I just want to say thank you. Every listen, every share, all of those conversations, they mean a lot to us and they help us get our message heard. Retail is evolving very quickly. You've been along for the ride, and I appreciate you for being here. All right, let's get into it. Welcome everybody to The Longer Game, a podcast that is devoted to retail. Retail is expansive for us. That means in-store, that means direct-to-consumer, that means Amazon, any other marketplace that you come up with. And we like to bring in all kinds of people to talk to the brands out there to help them to understand how to do things right, maybe learn from some of their past experiences or failures. Like someone else said on the show, failures in an experiment or something that has happened doesn't mean that you necessarily failed, but you learn that thing was important and you can grow from there. Anyway, long story short, today on the show, we have Raj Shah. He's the VP of Sales at Obvi. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and maybe, I don't know, you don't have to give a fun fact. That's like a weird grade school thing. But yeah, tell us a little about yourself, man.
Yeah, Michael, thank you so much for having me on. My name is Raj Shah. I'm based out of New Jersey. I am the VP of Sales for Obvi. What that kind of entails is having my hands in all things retail, any kind of new marketplaces that we're either evaluating or even onboarding. I am the guy from A to Z, from actually gaining interest from the buyers to also executing it on shelf or on their platform. So do have a lot of my hands in the weeds, but at the same time, I do also overlook a huge retailer like Walmart and what our OTIF looks like, or any kind of day-to-day problems that we would incur with any of our accounts is where I kind of have my hands at right now.
Where do you think people get it wrong when it comes to looking at different channels, or maybe even something that you've learned, like when it comes to different channels? I think insert great piece of wisdom here.
Yeah. I think when looking to different channels, I think keeping your net very wide. So, I'll talk to some brands and they're like, yeah, our kill list for retail is supplement stores. We want to go after the vitamin shops, the GNCs of the world. And we used to think like that too, right? Us being a supplement brand,
Sure.
pretty obvious that we should be going into supplement stores. What we learned through our brokers and through some of the retail partners that we do have is you're putting yourself in a box when you're so, set in stone to your kill list, and those are the only stores that you want to talk to. And I'll give you a good example of this is we launched in 2019. We were D2C for the first 2 years of launch. 2021 going into 2022, we landed our first retailer, which was also part of our kill list, Vitamin Shop. And we, what we found out is just because the product or the product type matches the actual store or the type of channel that you're going into, that doesn't mean that the customer is going to resonate with the product in that store. So,
Okay.
fast forward to another 6 months after our retail launch with Vitamin Shop, we hired a broker who's a grocery broker called Jade Street Consulting, and they really opened our eyes on why can't Obvi be in grocery stores. And if you asked us this question, 2021, 2022, we would probably laugh, right? Like grocery stores are collagen products. That's not going to work. Now, fast forward today, we're in 22,000 locations, and I would say a good 15,000 of those are grocery doors. So I think when brands are looking to either make the leap to retail or just looking at retail accounts that you would like to see your product in, keep your net very, very wide. Don't put yourself in a box, because what's going to happen is if you do start presenting to people outside your kill list or outside your box, now you're getting feedback directly from the title or the person that handles procurement or buying for that category within their stores. So if you go to ShopRite and you never had ShopRite in your, or Wakefern, and you never had Wakefern in your kill list, and the Wakefern buyer is like, yeah, I see this selling in my stores. I mean, from there, it's like, are you gonna go against that, especially if they're the category manager within Wakefern for supplements?
Well, I think,
Or
yeah,
go ahead.
you want to lean into, they know the category, so you want to lean into that. And don't, if, it sounds like what you're saying is, don't think about the store as like a big grocery store, but think about it as there's different
Yeah.
segments of that store, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then like my thing is like you people that put themselves, or set in stone to their kill list, or put their brand in a box, they wouldn't even get to the point of hearing a yes or a no from those other channels, right? Because they're so set in stone that this is where my brand has to be. Where I'm not saying not to have a kill list. All I'm
Sure.
saying is if you have list number A where you want to be in these stores, don't forget about list B and C, right? Just because, again, we launched into Walmart before we did. If someone were to ask us, do you think you're going to get into Walmart, we would have laughed, right? So now if you kind of cast a wider net, and you are getting no's or not right nows, then it kind of just confirms what you've already thought, as far as, hey, let me keep my kill list to what it is. But the most important thing is getting the answers that you need from other types of retailers other than the ones that you're already thinking.
When you don't know where the category is going to go. I mean, a decade ago, I don't think people were thinking about collagen. I know they weren't thinking about collagen like they are now. Now that's like a normal supplement. We're starting to see that be combined with other things as well too. So like that is a just a testament to the industry growing in itself, the awareness of something, and that's part of like, if you are a leader in a category, you may have to educate people on why this product is even important, and not just go after and focus on conversion. Like a lot of brands are so focused on like, well, what's my ROAS? And like, am I getting conversion? Especially when it comes to like Amazon, like, well, what's our ROAS? I'm like, great. Does ROAS tell you what your market share is? Does it tell
Mhm.
you your organic placement? No, it doesn't tell you any of those things. That's why we'll often set a goal and look at tacos to say, hey, what's our spend compared to our total sales? Because your ad spend is your biggest lever to drive your total growth. But when you start to look at just, conversion and return on ad spend, you don't think about how do we grow the pot and grow the demand. That's when you're myopic. You stay so focused, and you often drive yourself into the ground instead of thinking, oh, well, like, imagine what would happen if we got into, Kroger or whatever. And we were thinking about Vitamin Shop, but, Kroger was not on our list. Well, imagine how many more households you get access to, in the same way that people, think about, I don't want to be on Amazon, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they've got millions of shoppers ready to purchase that are conversion ready. Why would you not want to be there? And I think that's what stood out to me is someone asked you the question, why wouldn't you be there? You guys were saying, why would we be there? And it was flipped on you like, well, why wouldn't you be there? That gets you thinking, well, yeah, well, why shouldn't we be there? Like just a little bit of reframing the question makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like with us, as cringy as it might sound, like with having such a tagline as the obvious choice, right? Obvi,
Mhm.
our tagline is the obvious choice for women needs. You can't really have a tagline like that if you're not meeting all the customers where they're at, right?
Yeah.
If you're not seen, you're not obvious. You're not the obvious choice. So I think
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I think there when I joined the team and kind of really got a good handle on retail. I think that's kind of the back end motivator for me is like, okay, we're calling ourselves Obvi. We have a tagline of being the obvious choice. So then the number one thing here is to be seen by the customers or by every customer or as many customers as we can. And I think that's what the grocery channel and along with all the other channels that we're in, like together has brought to us is a lot of awareness. I think in 2020, our Facebook community was at about 40,000 members. Once we started retail and slowly got to 10,000 doors and 15,000 doors, we're actually now the largest collagen community on Facebook at 130,000 members. So I would, if you guys have some time after this video or podcast, I would definitely encourage you guys to check it out. It's not one of those it's not one of those groups where the brand is doing all the talking and kind of like promoting products and trying to get sales. This is a group of 130,000 women talking about how they're implementing Obvi to kind of fill in the gaps that they had prior to Obvi. So for
Yeah.
some people, it's recovery after bariatric surgery, or
Okay.
for some people, hey, I just want to have more glowing skin and less brittle nails. And the wonderful part about that is all these women talk to each other, right? So now it's very uplifting, very positive. So definitely encourage you guys to check that out.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the misnomer is that these channels act separately from each other. And the reality is all these channels work together. We say here at the Longer Game, I also realize that there's nobody else here behind me, that it's just me. So it's not really a we. But we at the Longer Game say the future of retail is, is omni-channel. Really, that's now. It's being omni-channel. That's because people make purchasing decisions very differently now than they did 50 years ago. You used to have a grocery store, especially when it comes to food or something specific. You go, you buy. If you wanted clothes, you went to the department store, you go, you buy. Now people have access to so many different ways to get food or clothing, whatever. And it may just be, hey, I'm traveling and I need something delivered to my home by the time I get home. I know Amazon's going to do that for me. It could be, hey, I'm exploring a new thing and I want to try and I've read a bunch of information on this brand and I want to buy directly from their site because they're giving me a discount. It could be, hey, I'm going by Walmart and I need to pick up some groceries. Oh, and yeah, by the way, I know that Obvi's at Walmart, so I'm going to get some collagen there. Like people make purchasing decisions often, I think, based on what's convenient for them. And you said to yourself, you need to meet your customers where they are. If you're not there, how can you meet them?
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's so for brands that are D2C native and making that transition. I kind of tell brands to go balls to the walls, right? If you have a kill list, and attack everyone on your kill list, because the more feedback that you get from these buyers, it will not only help you where if they're saying yes, we want to pick you up, you have a great product, we want to bring you in store, then awesome. Then at least you're kind of doing what you just said, which is meeting your customers where they're at and getting on shelf for those customers that do like to shop in stores. But again, if the feedback is going the other way, then that's also not, bad. We wouldn't take that as bad news. We would take that as, okay, let's listen to the feedback from buyer number buyer number one, buyer number two, buyer number three. Now, if there's similarities between that feedback on your product or on your pricing or on the ingredients that you use, then it's maybe time to, peel back the curtain and kind of reevaluate all those things. So the next go around with with these buyers, it's, hey, we listened to your feedback. These are the changes we made, and we'll go up. a lot differently, and that's what we did for Walmart, right? Our
Okay.
pack was completely not what it was today. It was and our category manager was very blunt with us, like the type form, typeface, on this lettering doesn't make any sense. It's kind of weird. It's kind of off-putting. So
Okay.
our CBO went back and took all the feedback, made a whole new packaging for the same product, presented it to Walmart, and now we're in 4,000 different stores.
So that you would attribute that change in packaging to really
But yeah,
being
yeah.
the
I think
instrumental to
it's
getting
called
you into stores.
I think it's called the five P's, where it's when you're attacking retail. I might butcher these, so sorry if I do, but it's pricing, promoting, product, packaging, and I forgot the fifth one. But I think those there is a fifth one. Those five P's were something that we hold true to right after the Walmart feedback kind of scenario that we went through, just because we saw that happening in other retailers as well when we were pitching initially. Now that we have this, our branding is on point. All it's very clear to read. It's easy to understand, and yeah, listening to the people that you're pitching is very, very crucial, especially if you're trying to get into retail.
I just looked it up and it said product, price, place, promotion, people. That sound right?
People. Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
People was the last one.
Yeah, you gotta have people to be able to buy your product, right? Otherwise, there's no brand. That's actually something that I think a lot of people forget. Like brands think, well, we're a brand that's created for X, and I don't mean the social media side. I mean like insert whatever reason here, but like we're created for this. Well, people start buying your product, and it's a different person than maybe you anticipate. It's a different ICP. Maybe there's something to that. Like, did you create something and you just you created something that worked with people, but it ended up being for a different reason. Like lean into that. Don't be so stubborn, I think, or even prideful to think like, well, no, our brand has to work for this. Like if your brand's working, but it's doing something different than you anticipated, why not lean into that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the idea of, moving sales and not growing sales is a very gray area within CPG brands where, okay, we just got into this retailer, let me go in my community and make a post so I can, they can get $3 off. And all you're doing is moving your D2C sales from this platform to now Walmart or to
Mm.
Harris or to Kroger. I think I think the real lever or the real indicator for us is net new customers, right? And then our CMO does a really good job tracking that, especially through our website. And I think for the most part, especially our retail accounts that we're in for grocery, I would say 80% of those purchases within stores are net new customers because
Wow. Okay.
we are not like our product was not supposed to be in grocery from our founders point of view, but now that it is, just kind of the velocities and sales that we are seeing, and then looking at the actual retailers ICP and who kind of shops there. It's, we'll have a retailer like Wise that we're in, and we will say, you know what, this is our ICP. Then we'll go to a retailer like Harris Teeter, which is a Kroger banner, and that doesn't fall under our ICP, right? Which is still a very good to have because those are net new customers,
Yeah.
and that shows the growth, while the other one shows the convenience of your ICP meeting those customers where they're at, right? So like if they used to buy from obvi.com, now that we're in Wise, they can now, make those purchasing decisions, like you said, and buy it in stores as well.
And if it's more accessible for them for whatever reason, maybe you're going to get more recurring purchases as well too.
Of course. Yeah. I think with the whole COVID thing, the curbside pickup became the same thing as a subscribe and save in my eyes
Okay.
within in stores where, all you have to do is go in the app, pick the product, and you have someone deliver it to you to your car. I think that's awesome. And we do see from our Walmart, we'll see a lot of in-store pickups, or curbside pickups. Which again is kind of that convenience factor, but at the same time meeting that customer where they're at, right? So they're doing groceries for the week. You know what? Obvi's in Walmart. Why not just grab Obvi too?
Yeah. I mean, it's all based on their needs in that moment in time instead of thinking it has to be this way and it has to be, exactly how we want it. Like you said, meet them where they're at. I've always seen or heard people say, well, we want to take all of our Amazon sales and bring them onto our direct to consumer site. To which I say, good luck. that's not possible.
Yeah.
Why is it not possible? Because yes, you don't quote unquote own the customer because it's someone that's loyal to Amazon, but Amazon has access to these people that are likely in your target audience, but you need to access them first through Amazon to be able to then pull them to your site, to be able to get them to notice you on the shelf. And you can't constrain the consumer anymore. The consumer has as much information as they've ever had. They get to go and make the decisions and research and find stuff, and then they decide where they purchase, which is why when people see things pop off on TikTok shops or just on TikTok in general, they see the halo effect coming over to Amazon because people are ready to purchase on Amazon. They've already got their info there. They know they're going to get it in a day or 2 days. They don't have to worry about, whatever's going to happen on TikTok. They might be more willing to purchase, but it depends upon the consumer as well too. And there's so many variables at play to then try and limit your consumer when they've got so many other options. You're basically saying, please don't buy my product.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
No,
and
so
that's not a good recipe for growing a brand, at least last time I checked.
no, yeah, again, I think as a brand, visibility initially is very, very important, regardless if it's your first year of launch or your 10th year of launch. I think the number one step in growth is visibility. How many eyeballs can you see? If I said this to my CMO, he would probably kill me because he doesn't care about impressions. But if your product isn't even seen, there's no chance of it being bought.
It's a
So
great point.
so I think, yeah, I think the visibility factor initially is something that not even initially, it just needs to be part of the flow, regardless of what channel you're either onboarding with or in, or it's your fifth year in. Visibility should always be part of the.
Well, the impressions piece is interesting because, of course, when you're looking at search advertising, you want to see conversion. The thing that an impression doesn't often share is like, what number impression is this for this person? Consumers sometimes need multiple touch points before they ever get in. That's from a consumer standpoint, that's casting a wider net to build the audience. We talked about casting a wider net in terms of retailers where you can get access, but that's essentially an impression. Seeing someone seeing you on the shelf. Someone seeing you on the shelf is an impression. You often need, I don't know how many times it is, but multiple impressions to get someone just to see and know and understand your brand and get more comfortable with it. Because buying a new brand is sometimes scary and you have to lower the barrier of risk to get people in, especially when you're a new product. How do you do that? Sometimes people run promotions. Oh, this is a great sale. I have less risk because they're running a sale on this. Well, they're offering this promotion, or I can try a sample. Like, any way that you can lower the barrier of risk for people, that's what you need to do. And you first get people familiar with you. That's another, way is just someone's seen you, they've seen you show up and you get a celebrity endorsement or whatever, whatever. The more times people see you, the more willing they are to like, okay, well, like I've seen Obvi now, 10 times. They're not counting that number, but like I've seen this brand multiple times. Maybe I should check them out and do a little bit of research. Well, where are they going to go? Probably going to go to Amazon to look for your product. Maybe they go to direct to consumer to find out more about your product. So like those things need to be on point. But the more impressions you have, the more visibility you have, the more access to customers you have. So you can't tie that back directly to, a ROAS or an attributed sale. What you can look at is, hey, are impressions growing over time? And are we seeing sales channel growth over time as well? It's maybe looks like an indirect correlation, but that's again why we on Amazon look at something like tacos. Like we know that ad spend is going to drive when it's targeted. Now, not everyone sets up their ads correctly. Some people cast too wide of a net and they're not focused on driving organic visibility, because ads on Amazon are always about driving organic visibility. If you're driving ads and you're running it across a bunch of targets and you're not focused on the things that are really going or putting emphasis on budget on things that are going to drive organic rank, or your campaigns aren't set up to do that, you turn off your ads, you don't have any organic or search equity is what I call it. You don't have top of, page placement on something like, collagen or whatever it is. If you're not, building that visibility there, then your ads aren't really being affected. But we know that we're going to spend on ads. We know that's going to drive our sales velocity. We know that Amazon now says, hey, this item is selling more in this term. We want to show it higher organically, because they're all about being customer centric. Well, what's more customer centric than like hot sales velocity, sales history on something that's tried and true, good reviews. People are going to want to purchase this, so they show it higher organically. But that's casting the wider net, and sometimes it takes multiple touch points for someone to even just get familiar with the brand, but you have to grow that net and look at like what's our spend essentially, which is why I brought up that tacos piece.
Yeah.
What's our spend compared to our total sales, and not just look at it channel specific and stay isolated. That's another issue I've heard with brands is they're looking at trade spend in specific channels and not looking at it as a whole.
Right. Right. No, I think you hit the nail on the coffin. It's with retail ad spend, it's a little bit more trickier because it's not like it's not a trivial like you can't I can't set up a demo in a Walmart today and then see what like there's no way to see that data of what lift it caused, right? And I think using ad spend through digital to kind of create foot traffic within the aisle and within the store for your product is somewhat more traceable than just a regular retail marketing activation. And I'll give you an example of that. I think I told you about this our initial call, which was we created a flywheel system for every retail launch that we do have. So what we did was, and again, this comes back to the idea of not really moving sales, but growing sales within our ICP, where we make a post onto our Facebook community saying, "Hey, we're launching into HEB. If you go to HEB and buy Obvi, and then come upload your receipt onto this portal, we'll give you 300 reward points to come back and shop with us online." Right? So what this does is it increases the foot traffic and purchases within store, but also decreases the risk of cannibalization of sales for our D2C, because we're not only telling them to go to the store and buy it from the store, but we're also telling them to come back and use your reward points to come shop online with us.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on loyalty programs right now? Do you feel like has that been a big growth lever for you?
Yeah, I think it. I wouldn't say it's been a huge growth lever. It's been consistent, I would say. So I kind of would for brands that are thinking about activating it or even just like evaluating it, I would kind of activate it when you have organic sales. Doing upwards of whatever your expenses and your monthly expenses come out to. I would 2x that. If you have organic sales on a monthly basis, that kind of 2x that I would look at a loyalty program. And then I would also get a little bit more detail with the data where okay, out of these customers, these are the customers that are buying every single month or every
Mm.
single. So I would do a lot of due diligence before just signing up with the loyalty program. And then thirdly, I would also have somewhat of a community to kind of initially
Mm.
introduce the loyalty program to,
Maybe even
right?
like test it with a community to see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Test it to see if if the kind of options and products that you have within that program, do those even make sense with that test, or does the test even work, right? There are people actually signing up for the loyalty program. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. Like, if something doesn't resonate with your consumer or, whoever's buying the product and they don't want it, then like it's not a lever that you need to use. But like maybe you also wouldn't know unless you do test it. So test it with people that are, especially when you're looking at a loyalty program, test it with people who are already loyal
Yeah.
and see, hey, is this something that you want? Or maybe even you could just poll them, right? I mean, just say, hey, like we're thinking of introducing this. What do you guys like crowdsource it? Like, what do you guys think about this? Here's kind of what we're putting out. And other people can give you ideas. Hey, well, here's what I like about this program I'm in with someone else, or here's what I think would work. And you select and you test. But like that's the way that you find out if things work or not. People are often so I think afraid to test because they're worried the test is going to fail. And based on the parameters you set, but we had someone on the podcast earlier this season, I believe. It might have been this other event or show that I do called Michael Marr Live. Super original name for the show, by the way. But I had someone on and he basically said, if you test something and you don't get the outcome you want, it doesn't mean that it's a failure. It just means that what you tested was really important to people. You can put that thing back, fix the button, fix the email copy, whatever it is, and then maybe even amplify it and grow it in the opposite direction. But it doesn't mean you fail, but now hey, this thing was really important to people, so we need to make sure that we protect it. Until you test that thing, you don't actually know what it is. You know something's resonating with people, but what is that root cause? That's what I like to look at is like, especially when it comes to Amazon. I audit brands all the time. I'll go and look at their account and say, hey, look, like this looks good, but honestly, this is a big issue right here. Here is like the current issue. Here's the problem that I'm seeing. Those problems have impacts on your business. What are they doing? Well, you're seeing sales decline. You're not ranking organically. What is the underlying root cause though? That's the thing. We don't come in and just, give you cash in your business or change impacts. What we do is fix root causes. That's how we actually help these brands to be better. One of the biggest root causes that we fix, no growth strategy. I talked about, ad spend, like people are spending, but there's no strategy. There's no setting up of campaigns correctly. Anyway, I digress. My point is you have to get to the root of something to understand. And if you don't test, you often don't know.
Yeah, you're just putting temporary band-aids on where those band-aids are going to come off eventually, and now you have the same problem. You're back to square one. So yeah, I think the idea of any kind of issues that do come up in ad spend and retail accounts, or finding that root cause is always crucial. Just because if you don't and you kind of put a band-aid on it, it's going to be out of sight, out of mind for you. And then a week later, when you have 20 other problems kind of fix, this one reopens. And so I definitely agree with you. Whatever kind of issues that do arise, finding the root cause is gonna tell you more than any kind of temporary fix that you could put on it, right?
Love it. I think it's a great place to end it, man. You've been a great guest. If people want to know more about what you're doing, where should they look? Are you going to be writing out that kill list, knocking stuff off the list, or where can they find you to be more specific?
They can find me in ECRM sessions. They can find me in on LinkedIn. I have been a little bit slow in posting, but I do post a lot. My name is Raj Shah on LinkedIn. Only Raj Shah in Obvi, so should be easy to find.
Okay.
Other than that, I do have a baby on the way come October.
Okay.
So if I'm not,
Congratulations, man.
thank you. If I'm not on any of those two platforms, then you can definitely find me in the nearest New Jersey hospital.
Okay. And hopefully for a good reason of a baby being born,
Yes,
not
yes,
something
100%.
else. But that's awesome, man. Congrats on that. Is your first?
Yeah, my first. Yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. Mine's 13 now. It's a
Wow.
totally different world. But everything's
Yep.
been amazing. She's a blessing. So I'm very thankful.
Awesome. No, I can't wait. I'm terrified, but I'm very, very excited at the same time. So
I think if you're even a little bit excited, the terrified feeling will go away. I mean, at some point you'll have, I'm sure you have other things that pop up. My funny story, my wife and I, as we were driving home, I don't know why, but as we were driving home from the hospital, we both were like crying. Like, okay, this is real. Like we have got this kid and we're also really happy because we had problems getting pregnant. It was just a crazy experience that is the slowest I've ever driven in my entire life, almost to the point of like being dangerous. I was driving so slowly. It's just funny to think about now.
no, that's awesome, and I'm gonna be in the same boat because trust me, I've been ever since I got the news, I've still been pinching myself. Are you sure you want to take
Man,
another test? But it's October is the due date, so
October, man, love it. We'll be praying that you have a safe, you and your wife have a safe birth. And that's all we have for you folks. If you got a baby, maybe you should go to the hospital and maybe you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. But until next time, cheers, everybody.
thank you guys.
Does Amazon feel complex and fragmented? Well, here at Cartology, we make Amazon simplified. Hi, I'm Michael Marr, Chief ID Officer and owner of Cartology, a full-service Amazon agency. We take extreme ownership in the work that we do. We get results, and we provide a holistic end-to-end service so that you can win on Amazon. That means we create strategy, and then we actually go and execute on it and handle everything else in between. If you want a partner who's truly accountable and that you can trust, look in the show notes and get our details and reach out to us. We want to talk with you. Thanks again for spending your time here, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Longer Game.